Hey ye. Another episode of Ball at All Cost, and it's a Clubs in Focus. This time, we have the owner, the founder of Proverbs Football Club, Nathan, in the building. But before we get into speaking to Nathan, seeing how Nathan is, as customary, we have your fathers, your panelists tonight. Starting with OC. OC, how have you been since the last time that we saw each other?
Yeah, I've been good. You know what? I'm struggling. I'm a bit distracted because this supermarket, I must have put it in the freezer a bit longer than expected. So now it keeps cropping over it. So I'm just trying to save my table. But outside of that, I've been good, man. I've been good. It's been quite busy. Little man has changed clubs. I'm trying to adjust to being a parent on the side, which is it's not easy, you know. It's not easy. I'm watching a game. I'm like, I want to be coach, and then you're hearing parents speaking like madness on the side, and I'm trying to correct them, and I'm like, should I be correcting them? So I'm just trying to find my space in the corner somewhere where I can just keep myself to myself.
And I know how you feel, because you're hearing madness, you're hearing delusion, you're hearing all sorts going on, and you really want to just put them straight, but it's easier said than done. And being a newbie, it's very hard. So no, I feel that and understand that totally. Dan, how are you?
I'm good. For a minute, I thought Oshi would start busting that Dizzy Rascal at boy in the corner.
I see that reference.
I'm good. We've done this week. I started a new health regime on a diet. Not even diet, a new health fitness journey. Yeah. Nice. Health is wealth and all that. So that's what I'm doing. It's going well. The boys played football today. Had a good game against some older boys. It's been a good week. I'm here another day. You know, we give blessings and thanks for another week we're going to for tomorrow and going forward.
100%.
And I'm quite excited to have this podcast, this one, because the last one I purposely missed because I was watching a big game on Super Sunday that day, so I couldn't attend. Yeah. And I've heard so much about the so-called GOAT of Proverbs. So I get to have a conversation face to face and hear as Deji every week is bombarding us with how great Proverbs is, how great the GOAT Nathan is, and the setup of Proverbs. So now we can talk about negotiations properly.
So that's an exciting one. We have negotiations live and direct on the Ball at All Cost, mate. It's all happening. It's all kicking off already, and we haven't even started. And last but not least, Nathan, I know you've been going through a lot with your clubs and all that, and I get to see your handiwork on up close and personal. But how have you been? How's everything going for you so far?
Sure, always well, always well. We played football today, so played for, I think it's over 2 hours in total. They were 5-7 aside straight after the game. So I'm feeling young right now. I think tomorrow I might feel a little bit older, but no, man, I'm feeling good.
That's so funny.
Because Nate, we're going to need to get that parent rematch because, there was some unfinished that were being nasty there. So we really need to get it in. Obviously, you still kick ball still?
No, I was just going to say, when Nathan just said, we played football today, that's often parents speaking as if they're the kids. Because the parents are like, we played, but Nathan was actually. So I was a bit thrown there. I thought that he was speaking about the boys, isn't it? But my knees can't handle football now, man. I'm in a bad way, so I can't play.
Yeah. Well, the parents' game that we had, two of us and my team, myself and Adam, actually, we were nursing some serious injuries there. From some of the kind of 240 tackles that was coming in from the other parents. So, no, just kidding. But look, let's get into it. It's delighted to be here. We've got Nathan. Dan calls him the GOAT. I've seen Nathan's work up close and personal. And the last time we had an opportunity to speak to Nathan, it almost feels like it's been an age since then because so much has happened. So much positively as a club and different things. There would have been a lot of learning. So we will unpick it. But Nate, I think it's important for people to just get a bit of a sense check, a bit of background as to who you are, how you came into this space, how long you've been into this space, and where you were before you set up Proverbs, and then why you set up Proverbs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So in terms of background, played football from like 10, 11 years old. So obviously, I think it started off like a lot later than lots of my friends and everything. Grew up in East London, so I was playing like the Newham Youth Leagues, and then just basically went up. So I went from Newham League through to Echo League. I think every single season I was joining a new team, which is one of the things that we'll go into, like even just how I actually see the boys and how they actually approach football. So yeah, every year went to a new team. Every year went up a league, just try and compete with better boys. Had anything under 13s. Yeah, so like under 13s, I think it was like, so 3 years after I started. And my third year of playing football, I had a child at Wimbledon. Obviously the old school, the crazy gang kind of Wimbledon. So it wasn't good enough to get in there. Carried on playing, and then my next kind of bit of exposure was, to be fair, was when I was 17. I actually managed to actually play football from the age of 17, first team football for what is now Redbridge, but was Forge United at the time, under manager Craig Edwards, who's like quite a big name in non-league football as a manager. And yeah, gave me my first team debut then. Was getting tired around as if I was going to be going to a pro club at the time. So obviously after I signed first team papers, that didn't happen. Got released from that first team club. I think a year and a bit later, I ended up at Hornchurch playing kind of a mix kind of under 19s with kind of like reserves, because how they actually had the format, and a few first team games in the Conference South. And then they went on trial at Northampton Town first team then. That was at the age of, just turned 18 to be fair, because I'm one of the younger ones in the year. So but once again, I didn't cut a grade. That one was probably more of a tougher pill to swallow, because of when I went to the trial, I don't think I know I wasn't in the greatest condition. And it's one of the reasons why my experience on trial is one of the reasons why I went to try and help out kids massively right now. But that was just a playing. So yeah, Conference South was the highest I got to. Played against a few professional, like 11 teams and whatnot there. But then just had a complete love of football. I'll be honest with you. When I was actually playing, I started to think to myself that I wouldn't mind actually going down the coaching route. And that was, I'll be honest with you, the early exposure was at 15 when I actually thought about it. So it was actually quite early. There was like a kind of like a little camp that happened where Barking Football Club is, and it was a camp for us to try and basically coach kids that were a lot younger that had behavioural like kind of learning difficulties. And obviously being 14, 15, I actually really enjoyed it. So that's always something that stuck into my mind. And then I started to read books about how coaching was in Holland and whatnot. So from a young age, I had a kind of a glimmer to what coaching would be like. So I wanted to go into hopefully management. So I went to university, studied criminal justice studies, which has nothing to do with football. I said when I was there, I probably would actually end up going into management and actually taking another course at another university. That didn't happen. Had jobs in various places, like assistant paralegals in sales all up London, and just through that kind of route of finding unhappiness led me into wanting to go and work in a school with kids, and that then led me to my coaching badges, and actually ended up where I wanted to be, but for a different route really. So that's my kind of story in football. And then since coaching, I worked at Barkins / Forest Football Club in their kind of college schemes, so their 16 to 19 programs. Worked at Brentford doing the same thing, and in the academy as well. Worked at West Ham in the foundation phase of the academy. Worked at Chelsea in the 16 to 19 pros programs, and worked into the international as well. And Dagenham Redbridge in the academy as well. So that's my background before then sign up my own thing of Proverbs.
Fantastic. And I mean, you come with a wealth of experience, and what a journey. And sometimes you just think, you just listening to you just feel like maybe something led you down that path. And one thing is that maybe quite early on you kind of identified those coaching attributes from early on. So Proverbs, what is it? You set it up. What were you trying to achieve from it? And where do you find yourself now with Proverbs?
Yeah. So set up, I'll be honest with you, I think it's all very much God led. So my thing is, I think I've been placed more to teach, and coaching is a tool which I can get to actually teach young people, whether it's about football or whether there's things about life. And obviously the name obviously comes from more of a biblical name. That's obviously the book of, you can say, wisdom and instruction. So that's where obviously the name came from. Didn't want to glorify myself in terms of my coaching, because for me, it doesn't matter about me. It's more about the impact we can actually leave in people. So if I can take myself out of it, I take myself out of it. So yeah, for me, that's where the name came from. Now, I'll be honest with you, I always had a thought of owning my own business, but I never wanted to do it, or my own coaching. I didn't want to do it as early. I actually wanted to stay inside the academy system. I wanted to stay there for at least 10 years, because I had it in my idea. I wanted to see a cohort of under 8s go all the way through to under 18s, see exactly what goes on with each kind of like individual on the day to day, to then allow me to formulate the best way of actually then trying to coach boys. But yeah, it didn't happen, because anyone that's been in the academy system knows at times it's not necessarily the greatest. There's some great things that happen in it. It's not the greatest. And yeah, that led me to do part-time in my garden. I used to do one-to-ones, to be fair, for West Ham. We used to go into their schools. We used to wait for us to sign boys ahead of Arsenal or Chelsea. We used to offer them one-to-ones. So we used to go to their schools. We used to do one-to-one with our boys that we'd actually promised the signing contract on. And yeah, I just remember one day, I'll say it's God, I remember one day actually planning my sessions. I sit on my laptop in my kitchen, and no word of light. It was just like light shining on laptop lights over my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember looking at the video, because I always captured all my one-to-ones, just so I can actually see just how the boys are, the things that I probably would have missed during the one-to-one. Watching back, and I just remember looking at one of the boys' schools and looking at the small bit of astroturf we was on. I remember looking back and thinking, that's smaller than my actual garden in terms of width. Like, maybe I can do it here. And then, to be fair, started doing one-to-ones, and then it just grow. So yeah. But sorry, that's one thing. I can't remember the rest of the question.
Yeah, no. I was just saying, how did you? And thank you. No, just why you set it up. But yeah, you kind of said it's kind of God led. Where you feel like you were kind of just led into that path. And I just want to pick up, because obviously, if I get the opportunity to talk to you, so there's loads of questions I have that I want to share. But Oki and Dan will come in. But this is my third question, and then I'll hand the floor to them. You said something about the academy system, and it's something that I've heard you say before. But what was it that you were noticing? Because people are quite keen to get into the academies. People are, some people that it's almost like, well, it's ball at all costs. You know what I mean? It's do or die, get rich or die trying. But I've heard you say that although the academy system is good, there's still some flaws, and naturally there will be flaws. Nothing is ever 100% perfect. But just with what you can share, what was your views, which also I feel was part of the reason, because I sorry, not to go on too much. I feel like sometimes you see things that other people don't see. And did that play a part in you wanting to also set up Proverbs?
Yeah, it's like it's a two-way thing, because when you're in the academy system, obviously it's you as a coach, but then also in terms of like how you get treated as a coach, but then also the other things of how things are with the boys. And I would say I was like, the experience I've had in the system have been so different. So the 3 clubs I was actually at, in fact, 3 clubs and then insight to another club, so different. It was a joke. So I'll say when I was at one of the Cat 2 clubs, it was one of the best, I think one of the best learning experiences I could have had. The head of academy was on us all the time, like to the point where coaches actually had a little bit of fear, where you feel like you had to perform, you had to do things on point, and that led to how you actually then were treating the actual boys in terms of you wanted to make sure that you've done the best thing for the boys as well. I've been to other academies where I'll be honest with you, it feels like it's a glorified grassroots as well. Now, the thing I would say, the things with the academy system is that from a player's standpoint is that I don't believe every single player is made to be in the academy system, especially from young ages. And one thing I found when we was there, we had too many boys, to be fair, in the system that shouldn't have been there. I don't think their level was right at those ages. And generally at times what we was teaching them, I don't think it was really like individual. It really wasn't personal. And I honestly don't believe as well lots of things. I don't think we taught them enough for real football. So if I look at right now, like even like the rules have changed with like grassroots, with like no heading now. For me, listen, I understand it, and I can understand when it's obviously science backed. I'm for that, for making sure that the players were safe. But one thing I remember being at one of the clubs I was at, I remember with the under-8s, I wanted to do like a heading game for a warm-up. And I remember saying, listen, it's just going to be a small one. I remember all the boys, all the girls, they always love like one in two teams, throw it up, your teammates can head it at goal, try and score. The other team have to save it, then you have to quickly go and goal, they switch. So it's fun. And I remember, to be fair, I remember putting on the schedule of this is what I'm going to be doing. And my line manager was like, listen, you can't do it. I was like, well, we need to do it because I know if I don't teach them, if I don't teach them now, under 8s, I know when they get signed under 9s, 10s, 11s, they won't do it. And then when they get to 12s, 13s, 14s, when they're in the youth development phase, no one's really going to be focused on that ends away because it's going to go to more tactical. And then if you're at certain Cat 1 clubs and your players are now going down into League 1, League 2, and especially back then, and the ball's going to be more in the air, you now have players that can't now play to that type of game. They don't understand even the most basics. And whenever we used to play, like you look at the Checker Che Trophy, but whenever, like the 23s play against League 1, League 2, 13, I remember seeing lots of goals conceded, aerial balls, and I'm like, we're not teaching them. We're not teaching them. Even like sometimes we get them just to play out from the back the whole time. That wasn't teaching them for all aspects of football. Sure. But that's one of the issues I had, obviously, with the system for more of the players. But I won't say that's not every single club. So I know one of the clubs I was at, they teach them different formations. There was like, because we can't guarantee you can play for our first team, which means we need to understand all the different bits of football. Another club I was at, to be fair, the head of academy was like, I basically want goalkeepers to not just play out from the back. I want them to see when there's 1v1s and actually go longer, so they're actually practicing that distribution, so they're seeing the game. So I would say like it's different, but just a thing I had from academies, I don't think it was designed for everyone. I think there's lots of boys that were missed, and I don't necessarily think we always had necessarily. I don't think every single academy has the best coaches because of how things are in terms of like how coaches are generally sometimes treated in academies. So that's more the thing. But yeah, the whole thing of some parents wanting their boys to get into academy straight away, I think it's mad. It's too early. I don't believe most of the boys should be in academies up until 12 anyway. I'll be honest with you.
So you kind of, sorry, and I'm going to bring Dan in. So you kind of agree, because I think in Portugal and in France, I think even in the US, it's not until about 12, 13. You would say, let the boys play until they're about 12, 13, and then know. Because it's hard to tell with a 9-year-old if they're going to be a winger, defender, striker. Is that your thinking behind that?
I think with some of them, you can't. It's hard to tell where certain players will play because the abilities they have, and especially it's more physical and the psychological, social aspects can allow them to play in so many different positions. So that is hard. There's some players that even though they haven't developed, and listen, they can still change in their physical development and even how they act. and then their knowledge of themselves, they're more likely to play in certain positions. And that's going to be down to whether it's going to be height. You can't really say necessarily the physicality of someone, because some of them will develop in different ways. But I do believe there's certain players that are inclined to play some positions more than others. But that's not the reasons why I don't think they should go into academies. I think that we're searching for those that are very dominant at a young age, which lots of time is down to either early specialization with skills, or when they say we're looking for, just like, for example, good movers, lots of time there's lots of older ones. You're looking for a kid that's really good at agility-wise, but that might be that they're just more exposed at that time to those things. Whereas I think after a certain amount of time, then it actually opens up the pool, so your eyes can actually be open, and you can even get a better knowledge of how boys actually play. Because I personally feel like 5-a-side and 7-a-side is nothing like the real game of football anyway. And when you're scouting kids in something that's not anything like the real game, and yes, you have to scout them early, but if it's nothing like the real game, then you're missing out lots of players that could suit the real game slightly earlier, slightly later if you start doing scouting there. And also it's a lot of stress. I can't stress it. Lots of the boys, they might train 3 times a week in terms of their academy, and they play their game. And because they want to actually keep their position, or their parents want them to keep a position in the academy, and the kids do, because lots of time they've been signed, they've had their shirts, they've now been told that their friends know they play for this club, their other parents know they play for this club, their cousins, aunties, everyone knows that. So now you've got kids sometimes at 9, 10, 11 under so much pressure to perform every single session, every single game, because mum or dad is saying, oh, like, he wasn't good there. That's a madness, because I like it to, like, pros don't even have to do that. Not all pros have to perform every single time, because if you're good enough, if you're performing very, very good on your Tuesday, Saturday, sometimes in training, you hear some pros will take it lighter at times. They have to perform every single time. They have to perform when it matters. But we're asking sometimes 9-year-old kids perform on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and don't get burnt out after school. That's a madness. At least let them get a little bit older, and at least let them understand if they even love the game that much, so they want to be in there.
We're talking 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, not even 9 years old. The intense pressure that these kids are put under from literally as young as 5, 6 years old is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It is. I will say one thing. I remember one thing that it hit me. There was a young boy I was coaching. It's funny. He was in one of the clubs, one of our pre-academies. He didn't get offered a place there, so he went to a lower cap. And so much for his dad and him, they used to come to mine every single week. We used to have a group session, which was supposed to be like four kids. Sometimes it'd be like just him and one other. So we have 2 kids, and we're just in the garden, and we're just working on just pure technique. And it's funny, he then got bought by one of the Cat 1s. And I remember I didn't actually set up a session for like him and like there's some siblings and some others. And I remember one of the times I said, like, he didn't necessarily have to train, because like the session I set up, they didn't actually have to pay. It was just I made them pay for kit, so they all wore the same, because it was, regardless if you're signed or unsigned, we all wear the same thing. So no one's coming in their signing kit, so you look like you're different. Everyone's the same. You're getting the exact same message. Your job here is just to perform, and I'm gonna coach you the way I want to coach you, because parents aren't giving any money. So now it's down to me just saying, listen, this is what you're going to be in. And I remember a session that he didn't want to come to a session, and I think he went to go to a birthday party. And I remember like speaking to the dad, and I was like, I think it's fair play. He's like, the reason why he wanted to do it is like he's been missing all of his friends' birthday parties, 8, 9, 10, 11. He keeps on missing them because they're on the same times as training, the same days as games. And Dad was like, he just wants to be a kid. I remember just then thinking 100%. But lots of people don't understand that. That's the mad thing. That's one of the reasons why I don't believe that they all need to be in there. Because some kids love it, but the influence of adults kind of takes it away from being an absolutely like kids being kids. They're miniature adults in our miniature replica kits of the football teams that we support or the football teams we watch. And when it's that early, I think it's at times it's a matter. Some kids they have that mindset that they can be in there, and they're elite with that. I don't think it's designed for all kids. I really don't.
That's fair. It's fair. I want to bring in Dan. Dan's got a series of questions. Obviously, brilliant question as well. You had some questions that you wanted to ask.
Nate, I've got a few questions, to be fair. Obviously, this hearing that is kind of inspiring admiration as well, hearing the wealth of knowledge and experience you've got, like coaching in the academies and outside. So now you're doing your own thing, and you know your experience, you're going to get these scouts knocking your door, calling your phone. Yeah. How do you manage the expectations of parents and maybe telling the parents this time isn't quite right? Given that I've heard that you have a very high level eye for detail. So your experience, you know whether, or your opinion maybe whether it's right or not. How do you manage that with the parents to get it and to understand that, a month, 2 months, 3 months might be the right time rather than right now?
I think that all the conversations I had have been quite honest. And one thing I'll say is that I do take it as each individual. So I might have a conversation with one parent saying, yeah, John, yeah, they might be ready. The other one, I don't necessarily think. But one thing I'll generally say is that if they're ever going to do it, just take it as an experience. I always give my thought, but I say generally it's down to you, it's down to your son, because really and truly, regardless of what I say, a parent's going to do their own thing anyway. They're always going to do their own thing. Now, I will say, I personally don't believe, I think certain clubs, and I would tell parents, personally, I don't think certain clubs are designed for their kids because of the profiles they actually recruit, the way they actually potentially sometimes play and coach. It's not going to be the same. And sometimes it's even I'll actually speak. I've spoken to some recruiters and just even find out who's actually in the club and if there's even a position for that player. Because my thing is, there's no point of certain kids going to clubs. I've seen it from not even just the young ages. I've seen it at one of the boys we coached was under 15s, and his first trial he went to was a Cat 1 club. And the Cat 1 club, I know the boys that were in it, I know the parents that were in it, and that boy will not, that just did not suit that boy. And he had a torrid time. Torrid time. My thing is generally now, I will say to parents, I personally don't believe that necessarily that might be the best club for you. But if you want to go in there and have that experience, I think it's good. Just make sure when you speak to your kid, don't build it up. See it as just an experience. You just get to train and see how it is. That's it. Don't necessarily go in for expectation. You go in there, enjoy it, work your hardest. That's it. It's just an experience. Because the same way as I say to some parents, lots of the boys that we signed in one of our under 8s going to under 9s, majority of the boys from two of the age groups are not there. I think there might be, in one of the teams, there might be like 15-20% of the boys, and we recruit big numbers. In fact, that's for one of the team. I've seen so many boys get released. So, and there's been certain boys that have managed to have pro careers without necessarily being in the system from that young age, despite, and this is one thing I like about this podcast, in that it's a very honest opinion. Some will have you believe that you have to be in there from 8. If not, then you're going to be missing the boat. That's not the case. And especially the thing to realize is that professional is not, it's not Premier League. Professional is Championship, League 1, League 2. It's going abroad and playing. It's going to America and playing as well. In their 2 tiers. But some people have you believe different. And this is where, when I have the conversations, it's more of like, it doesn't have to be a rush. Because if you go in and you're not ready, you're going to come out anyway. Yeah. So you might as well go in where you're ready and actually go there to make a difference.
100%. And you know what is like, it's strange for me, like, it's strange that like you hear more and more grassroots coaches and teams talking about profile of players that are going to grassroots teams. And that, do you think that's the problem now? Like, there's too many everything, the vocabulary, the buzzwords, everything's so accessible that parents are hearing what sounds right, what sounds good. Then they go back to the grassroots sidelines and say, "Oh, that profile of a player." They don't really know what a profile is. Yeah, they just hear the word and think profile is a big boy. Yeah, someone that can run fast. There's different things, even buzzwords you hear all the time. And with my son, his experience at a club where their key phrase was stay on the ball. Yeah, and parents misunderstand what that actually means. And I spoke to one of the recruiters one time, and he spoke to me. He goes, "That's the problem with parents. They think staying on the ball means running through 15 players 3, 4, 5 times over. When staying on the ball might actually mean being a striker, holding the ball for 2 seconds and letting it go." So do you think that's the problem as well? Obviously, you having forget the academy system now, going back to grassroots, that parents hear so much about. It's so accessible, it's so visual, that they bring that same lack of knowledge or real experience into grassroots, and it's affecting the boys.
I think it's what you said, and as a last thing was a lack of knowledge. Those with lack of knowledge will perish, and that is across the board. Period. So one of the issues you have is people are saying things, and they're not trying to inform or create wisdom. So one thing that it's funny. After I'd have loved to have shared it. So when I was in the pre-academy, I remember taking some of the boys. I actually videoed I took some of the boys to develop the coaches. I asked them certain buzzwords that we say, and I asked them, "Do you know what it means?" The majority of the time, the kids didn't have a clue what we was talking about. And these are standard words that would be getting fired all the time. Now the kids don't know. Some of the parents, they're just going to be replicating as well. It's just down to people say things. And I don't necessarily think it's a parental problem. I think it's generally what we do, periods across the board. We assume and we don't try and inform. So it's one of the things I've said I've said it when we've done our meetings, and one of the slides I actually wrote on it was ask to be informed, not to confront, or like. So for me, anyone that knows me, I will speak all day to try and give as much information as I can. And if I don't know it, I'll try and find out. I won't pretend to say I know the things I don't. But I really don't believe that people are trying to educate enough. And I think that's the whole system. So parents won't know, and people won't tell them. And one of the reasons why people won't tell them is because lots of the time they're afraid of what's going to happen if they do tell them the information, or if they try and tell it and they actually don't know, they might get found out. And I think that's the thing that hurts parents. It hurts kids. It hurts everyone involved, just not sharing information freely. Because as well, if I give you information, then you might be able to use it against me, or let's face it, you might now have more information than I am, and now I'm out of a job as well.
Yeah. This is my last question, Hussein, and we can jump in. So I find it, I'm a parent, and if someone said this to me, I'm probably not going to enjoy it. But more and more I think about it, I think it's probably the best thing. I heard someone say, "Parents, stop watching your kids play sport, whether it's football, sport," and not in a bad way. Like, you get parents that go to every training session, every one-to-one session, every single game. I get it, you want to support your child 100%. But then when I had a conversation with someone and I heard the feedback was, your kids only look for validation from you. Yeah. And sometimes you being there sometimes might actually impact the performance. Yeah. Their concentration, the information intake from the coaches. Because if you're as a coach, as you know yourself, if you're talking to a child and their dad's in the background, they can see that, and they know maybe they made a slight error. They're always looking for validation over your shoulder. So I don't know how it works at Grassroots, where it will work where parents are happy to do that. Is it something you probably would like, if you could, in an ideal world, I know it's never going to be an ideal world, tell parents, maybe 1 or twice a week, if you have a session you don't attend, let me just have the time with the boys to get my ideas without the eyes, the presence of parents, which obviously have impact on some boys. Some boys can get through it and ignore parents. Some boys just want validation constantly from their parents, whether it's good or bad.
I think it's about just knowing your kid, isn't it? And knowing and just trying your hardest to do the best thing for your kid and put your kid in first instead of yourself. Yes, okay, I like watching my kid and everything. But if that's not the right thing for your kid, then then you shouldn't. Because, like, I'll be honest, it's funny. In my experience, I remember saying that there's the boy that I've been quite close with, and I've seen his journey. I've been in his journey, and he's excelling. And I've likened him to quite a few of the boys that are very similar. Lots of the boys I've witnessed that I've seen that have done really, really good. Sometimes their parents drop them out of the session, and they do walk. To be fair, I've had one of the boys I've had since he's 8. He's now under 15. He plays 21s at one of the biggest clubs in England. And one thing I've generally said to people is, I could count on my 2 hands. Bear in mind, I've had him one-to-ones, we've done group sessions. I can count the amount of times on 2 hands that has stayed for the whole session. And he just leaves it down to him. And lots of the boys, I was their parents just leave them down. That's like the ones I've seen. They might even stand there, but they're busy talking to other parents that their kids just know. There's actually no point. Dad's not watching me all the time. Mum's not watching me all the time. And I do find that lots of the boys that have progressed have that, but that's not going to be the same for every single kid. And that's why I won't say that all should. It's about knowing your son. Like, I know with my boy, obviously I used to watch him play, and to be fair, I'll be there for football, I'll be there for swimming, all sorts. And I remember he used to always give me that thumbs up, because he used to do that to his mum as well. His mum always used to give him a thumbs up as well. I used to just look at him. And even when even now, like when it comes down to him actually playing, because he actually plays for our club, he asked me how I think he done. But he used to ask his mum, like, because he would always say he doesn't know what I was thinking. Because I just look at him, no matter if he was doing something good, I just look at him plain face. If he's done something bad, look at him plain face. Because my thing is, you should know after a while what you're doing good or bad. That's the only way you're going to improve. If you need me to tell you or me to give you that smile, no. I give you that smile when we're playing computer or something. But when you're on that field, just do you. And that's the same. I said that's the same with fields swimming. Or if I actually say to my wife, just don't smile, don't give him that. Yes, he wants that validation. Give him the validation in things that, like, after he's done an event of like school, well done. But when he's in the action, like, he's taking a second out. He's not even focusing. Like, he should just be focused on what he's doing. Let him get that feedback that he needs to progress. But yeah, to your question, I think it will help. It'll benefit quite a lot of kids at times. But I will not say that it's one shoe fits. I think the whole thing in everything it always depends. The same as going to academies. Some boys, I would say, going to the academy is actually really good for them. Some, no. But the idea, I like it. I like it in terms of every so often. But let's face it, if you're a dad or mum that hasn't had support when you was growing up with someone not being around, that's gonna be one of the hardest things for you to try and do for your kid now, because you want to show that support, and in fact you have actually invested because you might not have had it yourself. So it's quite a hard thing to try and address, because it really depends.
I think on that piece, on that question, I think a lot of parents are watching their kids, like with Hawkeyes, but it's not necessarily for support. It's because of that desire of wanting them to perform, deliver, to go and get a trial, to go and get into the academy, where they're just watching them like a hawk, because any mistake that's been made, they're going to be jumping on it, or they might have something to say in the car. So I feel like, yeah, understanding your kid is one thing, but like you said, just be a parent. Just you can stand in the background and just let the coach take care of what they need to, and support them in that way. Take them to training, innit? Drive them there. Do you understand?
Can I say one thing, OC? Sorry, and it's just with that question.
Yeah.
I can remember all the times I enjoyed playing football, and it wasn't with adults being there when I was younger. And that's the thing, the kids these days don't get that ability just to play anyway. That's an issue as well. So even when they're dropping, like, if we look at where we're younger, where we were playing Wembley, World Cup, however people called it, headers and volleys, 60 seconds. We used to call our one Euro 96. That's right, my age, where we used to we should take charge of like one of the national teams, trying to go all the way through. But like, I used to get so much more jokes because you could actually play in like, the kids don't have that. So I think sometimes it might be the plain fact of parents just not being there just so a kid can just be a kid and enjoy that sport. And yeah, even like you say, taking kids to training, that's a whole kettle thing. And I think we done it I think it's like 2 holidays ago. I put a message out on my WhatsApp and said I was going to take the boys to goals so they could play Wembley and they can just play some mixed football. I just put it off of there. Like, we didn't get a massive amount of people. We got a few people. I actually picked up some boys, dropped in there. Wembley, I went in goal for the first round because I know these boys are, and then after I left them, just play, just watch, just play you lot. Just learn how to just do things by yourselves. We used to do it a lot. Not last season, the season before. We used to take the boys to our unit. You pick the teams, you do whatever. In fact, we should just put them in unit and just leave them. Especially like they had games council or sometimes on a Saturday. Just do you. You call any fouls, you do any rules you want, don't care. Just play, just be kids. The parents will talk and you never ever saw any kid look back at a parent. And the mad thing is, even though the parents are there talking, the parents will be watching, they'll be clapping. Because the kids knew this was like a free hit where we can just play football and just do whatever we want, they didn't care. So I think even sometimes when you do take them to training, it's not a free hit. You're paying for that training session, you've picked them up, you've taken them there. So even if you are just there to watch and be supportive, they still know that, they still want to impress. It's only if they just get dropped off on a thing that they know it didn't cost, or you're making up the rules and the coach isn't there doing anything, then yeah, man, that's when I think you're going to get that mad freedom and they'll actually enjoy it. They'll have their best football in life, I'd say.
So what I want to understand is, so in like the coaching space at the moment, you're seeing a lot of coaches that are looking for props, basically. I like the way, obviously, I say we work together. You work with my son, innit? I've got a lot of time and respect for what you do. But I like the way that you are, because I'm not going to ask you the numbers, but there's a number of boys that have gone through to academies, pro game, and you don't see that on your Instagram. You don't see how such and such has signed and we work so hard with them. And I'm seeing coaches, they've done 2 or 3 sessions with a boy and they're claiming like they finessed it and then they brought them to this level, and it's insane. But my question, I just want to understand from you, don't give away all your secrets, but what is your model for creating a player? What is your process? What do you think should go into that? Because a lot of coaches are just doing work so they can get boys signed. But I think you come from it from a different angle. So I just wanted to understand a bit more about that.
So I'll be honest, our process is very much just more kid-to-kid basis. And I've said it, I've said it so parents can actually hear me. I've said it in group sessions where boys are actually paid. I've said that I don't care if you become pros or not. All I need you to do is be good people, actually work hard, enjoy your football. So that's the first model, because I think if my whole thing is I need to make you pros, then my whole model changes. Or not even make you pros, I need to get you signed. Because lots of the things that some of the boys get taught will get them signed. That's not helping them in football. So I've been to lots of the whole mad, and listen, I do ball marshal, but the mad ball marshal sometimes I see, and I'm very conscious I don't follow a lot of people, especially those that do, sometimes I'll be honest, that do private coaching. And listen, I don't want to knock them, but I see so many boys learning bad habits. I think we've got so many boys that just want to have their head down, and akin to what like Dan was saying about stay on the ball without actually them understanding it. Head down, I'm just going to do my bits. I'm going to learn patterns. I'll do a skill. I can knock someone off balance because that kid doesn't actually have great balance anyway, or that kid doesn't know how to defend, doesn't know when to be patient, when to actually use their body. I'm going to look good. I get signed because I look unreal at these ages. And then they keep on doing that same thing. And then all happens, they get to the age where, thank you, Joey, you've had a great time here. We can't take you any further because there's actually someone else that understands the game as us, or there's someone that's actually better. Now you have to drop down, but you've got so many flaws. So in terms of how we approach it, there's certain things, there's certain key messages I've said from the I'll give all the way through. So what I even said this week was, I don't know if my first ever group of pre-academy boys, do you want to be the best player, the best attacker, or the best defender? What do you think everyone says? Best player, innit? So if you want to be the best player, that means you have to dominate that person as an attacker when they're defending you. And when you're defending, you have to make sure you dominate them as well, stop them. That's the first thing. And then once you actually have that, okay, we'll have the mindset, because that helps you to create the competitive mindset. You want to be the best player, don't be lazy in that sense. The next thing, what's the most important things in football? So everyone will say, obviously, the ball, or the most prominent thing to dominate, everyone says the ball. I think we say space. Understand space, because if you look at the past of how, you could say like how Pep and them have dominated the ball, they dominate space. They control space by using the ball in a certain way. Mourinho before that, he could control the game without having possession of the ball. Nottingham Forest done it as well with their low blocks. They allow you to actually only get to a certain point. They restrict space and they have more space to attack. Space is massive. And we try and get them to do that and just stop ball watching, which is a massive thing for me. Because I think that's one of the biggest flaws we have, especially if the boys are older. Everyone is fixated on the ball. And the way in which I remember trying to do it to try and educate some of the boys before, I used to take screenshots of a football pitch, put all the players in one colour. So you can eliminate you. And then I used to then cover the ball. And you ask them, where's the ball? And see if they can find it. And most of the time, they can find where the ball's going to be. And the reason why to educate them is you don't even have to know, or you don't have to look at the ball. You can read it by looking at people's body shapes, the way they're facing. That's going to give you a big indication. So when you're playing, stop focusing purely on the ball. Start actually looking and seeing what we say is bots, even though it's ball, but you've got opposition, you've got teammate, you've got space. That's the thing to control. So there's some of the things, there's some of the small messages we'll do. They're things we used to say, and obviously from our winners board, look around it, was speed, not haste, take pride, hit your target, which is football terms. But for me, it's also life terms. The way we explain it, haste, obviously rushing. If you was to do something like, if you was to eat a dinner very fast or rush, what would happen? I'd get upset, Betty, I'd drop it, yes. Do it fast, don't rush. You're doing your handwriting at school, do it fast, don't rush, it's going to be bad. You're going to make mistakes. Hit your target. We put that as a way for when they was actually looking at goals, because many of them didn't. But that goals is a football goal, but it's also a goal in life. Have a target in life, try and hit it. Work your way to it. Take pride, take care. Everything you do, just do it with the utmost quality. Just do it with the utmost quality. There are other messages we've done, and by putting all these messages in, hopefully work things more into a player's brain more than just working their feet. And then just as players, I'll be honest with you, is to not change them too much. So the boys that we've seen, they don't necessarily change a massive amount. And that's the issue sometimes with parents trying to put their boys in at such young ages. The amount of times I hear parents want their kids' feet to be much better because of where they're playing, or I want them to be a little bit like this. That's because you're looking at someone else. What is your boy's strengths? So that's one of the things that we generally want to work on. Work on your strengths. Play to your strengths. Like everyone says, make sure you work on your weaknesses. No one in life, and this is in football and outside, their value is not determined by the weakness. It's always their strength. So the CEO that's running one of the top companies, you're not looking at his weaknesses and trying to find out how that helps your company. You're looking at his strengths. What does he bring to the table? So that's the way how we generally bring it. So even when we're doing the recruitment for Proverbs, or when we're looking at, and this is one thing I'll say, recruiters are usually better at than coaches from when I've been more in the system. Recruiters generally looked at what you could do. Coaches look at what you can't do, because that helps them basically kind of like glorify what they're doing, isn't it? So the message we have is basically do what you're good at. Don't do the things, don't concentrate on the things you're not good at. It doesn't make sense. Because now you're playing in someone else's garden, in someone else's yard. That's their home. So and it goes down to the profile. I know it comes into a massive thing, but it goes into profiling. Like, I'll say, if you don't mind, so I'll speak to like Deji's son about Deji's son's profile is not massively big. So key thing I'm gonna say to him is stay out of the battle. So his thing is that it could be how he jinxed the passes he sees. Do that. Why are you gonna go and play the other man's game and just try and go into like collide? It doesn't make sense. So play to your strengths, work on your strengths being the value. And to be fair, that probably brings the most confidence in the kid. So when I look at lots of the boys that have progressed, because I've got probably got a year's worth of footage in terms of running, because I've recorded sessions from 2018 even up until this day. So some of the boys I'd had how many years ago, I've still got footage all the way through. And when I look back, it's mad. So many of the top ones haven't changed a lick in either their attitude or just the way they play. And it's not just their skills. So some of it might be they've just worked on 2 or 3 skills, like how you see Messi work on 2 or 3 skills, and now they are phenomenal. Some of them it's just going to be that job. Yeah, they haven't changed mentally. Mentally, they've just been switched on. And the job is, as a coach with that kid, coach them to make sure that they always stay switched on here. Because some kids are really, really good here. They're exceptional here. We'll try and work their feet. No, just keep on stretching this. So that's generally more of our thing. Can we stretch them? Can we make sure that they're working to their strengths? And the reason why you don't see us post online is because I'm very, very honest in terms of I'm only a small part. And I don't need kids. No, and we'll say, no, we don't need kids to make us money or make us famous. Our job is to help out a family, to help out that kid. Like I say, God will look after me. Yes, my family needs to eat, but I'm not going to start. I don't need to post every single thing, especially if I've worked with a kid. But if 3 other coaches have worked for a kid, how do I know how much I've actually impacted? So why should I then start saying, okay, yeah, well, we've done this. I don't know. So why should I then claim anything to it? Doesn't make sense.
I think the likelihood is if there was 4 coaches, I think you probably would have impacted the player probably a little bit more higher than the others. But I know you're modest, so we'll leave that one there.
No.
But
No.
no. I was joking. That's tongue in cheek, but it's the truth. But what was I going to say? The point that you made there, because obviously we're speaking to parents on this podcast here, and there's players that I've coached and there's players that have been around, and obviously in the game, these academies are saying, yeah, he needs to be able to dribble, he needs to be able to jink. But I've known players where technically from like 4 or 5 years old, their first touch is clean. Like they can strike the ball so well. But you've got the parents that are focusing on the weaknesses, yeah? The things that they're saying are going to get their kids into an academies. So the question is, so obviously from when you were playing, through to even like the older boys, so like the 16-year-olds that were then underage, what's your thoughts on this? Kids need to be in academies and kids need to be pros, because I feel like I'm coming into it quite recent in terms of my boy being quite young, but it just seems like the man on the street and the mum, the soccer mum, their kid needs to be playing academy football at 7 and they need to be a pro. So what's your thoughts on that? Has that evolved a lot? And why do you think that's evolved if it has done since you've been coaching?
It's the messages that gets put forward, isn't it? That there's so many kids that don't make the grade, is that less than 1% make it. So that's already put fear in people's minds. Okay, well, yeah, my kid, I need to do this. My kid needs to be competing with this one. So if there's only less than 1%, then my kid technically has to be better than this kid. And it's mad because we're talking about kids. Then get the other information of, yeah, you're more likely to actually go all the way through if you've had this grounding at this academy. But they haven't taken into consideration all the factors of why kids don't make it within football, because they don't speak to the numbers of kids that actually, just don't actually want to actually play anymore. The kids that might have actually gone through injuries, it could be down to the kids that sometimes, the kids that don't even, and I'll be brutally honest, the kids that just don't put enough work in, so they shouldn't be anywhere near professional football. they're looking at it and seeing every single person is entitled to play. And then that then goes into the way how the parents are, okay, well, we need to do this. You don't need to. It's some years ago, but in our Brentford college scheme, yeah. So this isn't the academy, 16 to 19s. Our goalkeeper got a pro contract at a club, not being in the academy. Our centre back, got pro contracts. He was never in an academy. He's still playing in a pro game. He's representing his country as well. Our centre back, I think he went to uni. Left back went to a Cat 1 club, and this is between the ages of 16 and 19. Our right back, I think he was playing non-league. You find it quite hard. Our 3 centre midfielders, one of them went and played in Scotland. One, to be fair, still playing professional today, and he was playing first division in Greece, and he was actually even in like one of the Asia Cup. He was in one of the team of the week or team of the kind of round in that. In fact, I was in a midfielder. He dropped out of the game. Well, in fact, I say dropped out of Formula game, but he liked 7-a-side, so he still plays there. Our left winger, still playing on league, banging in goals. One of the boys from our B team is playing pro in the US and has got a massive following. Right wing has come out. Striker went to America and played. Now, the reason why I say that is that you had 4 people that made pros. None of them played academy football. That's from a college scheme. There's a young kid I actually coach who's signed for one of the biggest clubs in England. He didn't play any academy football, I think, until the age of 14. And he went to the top. Now, people might say they're one-offs, but also when you look at the actual numbers, that's apparently supposed to be enough one-offs as well. Every single journey is different. But a massive thing that doesn't happen is people don't analyze and they're not honest within the journey. And that's from people because they have their own things of they want to make money. Some people, they just don't want to seem like they're being wrong. Some people don't want to be, at times, the bad guy. It's just understanding you have to be honest and understand that some people aren't going to make it, even if you do put the hours in. Because not every single hour is made equal in terms of how the boys are. Some boys will come into a session, someone will improve in that 60 minutes. Someone would have probably got 15 minutes worth because of the way how they've applied themselves. Now, you as a parent, you might put a lot of money in, but if the kid's not putting the work in, the kid's not going to improve. So I don't think not every single kid, once again, has to be in the academy. You don't need to be in the academy to make it pro, but you need to have certain things that will allow you to make it pro. And the main thing is going to be a mentality. It's going to be a mentality and it's understanding yourself. Because one thing I'll say, most top players know what they're good at. They know what their weaknesses are, and they'll play once again to their strengths. So even when I speak to the pros I'll coach now, we'll work on things that might not necessarily be the strong parts of the game, but no, that's actually an essential thing that will add so much to their game. But once again, they've already made it there. But we're not focusing on, okay, let's just make your weaknesses better. And we'll standly speak. Yeah, that's someone probably say, no, I don't usually do that. Calm down. With that one, in that sense, we're not going to work on that. If that's something completely against what you're going to do, why are we wasting time? Let's work on the strengths. Let's make you better. And the extra things, yes, let's do that as well. But it goes into it. It's being honest, knowing what you're good at. If you ask most players, most kids, what they're good at, they don't know. And if they don't know, and the parent doesn't know, but the parent's trying to get this kid to copy this kid, then they're going to find it a hard time to develop. And then you've got a pressure of, okay, we need to be in academy. Even if the kid goes into academy, if he doesn't know what he's good at, and now you're going to get a coach that's got his own philosophy or own ideas of why or how the kid should be playing, the kid might be doing something against what he should be doing anyway. And all he's going to do is get to 18s, possibly if he's really lucky, he'll have a really good experience some of the academies in terms of going to board and everything. He then gets released, and then now what do you have to do? Because some of those boys I know weren't focusing on schoolwork
For real, Nathan.
Yeah.
I just feel like you're dropping some hammers today, some hammers and some truths. And sometimes people are afraid to kind of deal with those truths, but we need to hear this, even as parents. I'm just thinking to myself, some of the things that I've said to my son, like, you need to work harder, you need to get yourself at this level by this, maybe, probably unnecessary pressure. So just sitting here, I'm just like nodding and going, damn it, things are, and that's what it's about. That's what we're talking, is it ball at all costs? Can we allow the kids to be free? And if it happens, great. And if it doesn't happen, great. It doesn't have to be do or die. And sometimes it does feel like that from the sidelines. And even just thinking about what you were saying about the pressure. My parents never came when I was younger. And it's true. I'm watching my son in the den on a Monday. I'm watching my son at training on Wednesday. I'm watching my son Saturday morning. I'm watching him on Sunday. And if there is a slip up that I deem in his performance level, or he's been moved to, and I'm like, what? I will ask questions. And actually, I'm just thinking to myself, right, like a lot of some bad habits that I picked up along the way that I didn't quite realize were bad habits. But sorry, that was just a little bit of a rant. But Dan actually has a question before I have a couple more questions for
you. Obviously, it's club and focus. So let's talk about Proverbs for me. So we've heard a lot what you are and everything else, and that's great. And you're just one man. And as you're growing, as a club, as an environment, as a space, what do you look for? Let me get this right. Whether it's your right hand, left hand, the guys behind you, to make what your ethos, your message, what you stand for, what do you look for? How does that work for you? And once you establish that and realize who these key partners are, how do you convince the parents that you are not able to spread yourself across every single layer? It's not possible, but then they must trust they put in you. Do they put in these coaches you bring on board at Proverbs as well?
Well, that's a good question, Joe. It's looking for people that just care. That's the first thing. So once I can see that they actually care, then for me it's something that we actually want. So obviously the club itself is now in its second season. That's going to be signed second season. The business itself has obviously been technically run since 2018. And if I look, so there's now 4 of us that's involved with the club. Myself, Alex, Steph, Matthias. All obviously with different bits of knowledge. The key thing is, I'll be honest with you, Al's been with me since he was in year 9. So he's I think he's 31 now. So I used to look after him when he was in school, when he was playing in the academies. Steph, he was in my year 7 football team. So once again, I think he's 28 now. So it's generally through the relationship I've actually had of seeing the characters and just understanding more of the character, because it's a character that is going to be linking up with the boys. The knowledge is nothing. Let's face it, you can go on YouTube, you can go on Instagram and get as much knowledge as you want. Obviously, there's even between knowledge and wisdom, but it's the characters that will bring it all out. So that's the first thing we're actually looking for. So both of those, they came, they coached, and I'll say lots of it was just coaching for free. And I think that's a massive, massive thing. I think everyone, yes, we have to look after ourselves, but the fact that they're willing to come in every single day to gain knowledge, to work for free, similar how I was when I first started as well. You understand that, Joey, it's actually more than that. And it's through conversations with us, that's what we look for. And I mean, once I've actually got those on board, parents actually see those people, their characters, their personalities. And I don't then believe that they feel that they need to have me there. Because once again, it's Proverbs, it's not Nathan. That's why you won't see Coach Nathan on Instagram. Like, some of the boys used to call me Proverbs because they thought that's what my name was. And I used to smile like, Joe, yeah, that's a beautiful thing for me. That's a beautiful thing, because obviously they're proclaiming, they're professing, they're speaking that out. But the plain fact is, it's more than me. And that's the whole massive, massive thing. So I think the parents are boring. I think you'll see we generally see boys have even one-to-ones. We see one-to-ones with Al straight, and we don't have to go through me. It's just go to Al. Steph, there's been confidence in Steph coaching the boys in those group sessions because people see how he'll take time to speak to a kid. He won't rush his approach. If a kid's not getting it, he'll stand there, pure patience. And obviously Matt just come along for us, and that's a massive thing for us because Matt is that way inclined as well, where he wants to help out the boys. So that's where. So the hardest thing is growing and having characters like that. But I think that's a good thing, and ultimately, yeah, we'll just get more of them. We'll keep growing, we'll keep having the right characters, and that's it. And if someone doesn't fit into that, there's no chance they'll be with us, because you have to near enough go through a whole. It's not even a learning process of what to coach, a whole learning process of how you acting in order to actually to be able to be coaching at Proverbs.
And I think as well, like, kids don't lie. So you get the reception from the kids, the relationships, you know whether a kid wants to come to a session. So I guess in your environment, I guess this goes for all grassroots elite football academies. You know whether a coach is doing the right thing or not. Like, my son will go to a session, and he went to a session last week. He had no contact with his coach in any form for about 2-3 years. And as soon as he saw him, he literally ran to the pitch and he was straight into the session. The coach saw him, they were high-fiving, they were spudding, and they'd like they'd never been apart. So for me, that was like a relationship, a bond that hasn't ever been broken. And it's just unfortunate for me and my son, I guess, that we were not long in that environment to have that exposure of character building. As I've said this a lot, I say it a lot in workshops to do as well. As much as creating or building great footballers, we want to be great individuals, people of the community and pillars of the future. Because no matter what who are, whether they're future football captains, superstars, they may be our doctors, they're going to be our corner shop owners, they're going to be whoever we go to, our mechanics, they're going to be those people. So if we can't instill the integrity of being strong young men or girls as well, because again, I want to shout out Lionesses today, because that is today, and they put us England as a football federation on the map again, because as the men, we're still not stepping up to the plate, but we'll live with that. We'll charge that to the game. But yeah, creating those young individuals of the future. So I guess it sounds like Proverbs is a great place, a great environment that are building not just footballers but great individuals for the future as well.
I think that's it. That's what it is. It's just building. Because I said the coaches have been with me for time. I still get sometimes got like a birthday message from one of the boys who's under 15 that I've had him since under 7, and for me, I think that's it. That's the things I will say that I don't think coaches might not necessarily say as much, but I know the things that I like the most is when you actually hear from people when they don't need to. That for me is a massive thing. So like I like one of the dads, I just coached his boy. Sorry, coached his boy when he was at our pre-academy, and he decided to go to a bigger one. And so I only coached him, but I didn't even coach him. I think I coached him on one private session. The dad still rings me up every so often just to see how I'm doing. I've got time for that. That's what it's about. It's about building relationships, and if a dad's going to do that, you know that the boy is more likely to be that way inclined. You as a coach, you should have that same impact. It's just it's build people, as you said. Just build people up. Football is a tool which we can do it. It shouldn't be the thing. It's just about that's it.
Great, no, 100%.
Yeah, no, I think it's brilliant, and I think I've been fortunate enough, and a lot of the people who watch this program or podcast have probably have been in or had a flavor of Proverbs and in your work, and I can testify to that. I guess for me, one of the things, just picking up on Dan's question, that I loved about when I first arrived at Proverbs is the time. I think time is so important. In my personal life, I always believe that you deal with the situation, the money comes after. I don't like the money being the driver for the act, if that makes sense. And one of the things I noticed was that there was never a definitive time when your session ended. Your session ended when you felt it ended. But also that time. So even like when Dan asked the question about recruiting coaches, it was one of the things that was playing in the back of my mind, because it was like, you know, Alex and Steph, I've been with you for years. You know, that's a long period of time. So it's going to be very difficult for you to take someone after like a week. It's impossible, because you almost know them inside out, and there are similar traits in them. You know, you're similar in that kind of calm, measured, take your time, it's not the end of the world, love the game kind of thing, which is very, very hard to find, because sometimes I just feel like every man and their dog and woman and dog is setting up a football club, and actually, you know, if it's about the young people, then, you know, we should know, if you're entering into this space, you need to know what you're doing. Don't just enter this space because you think it's a quick buck. And that was something that I noticed. It wasn't a quick buck for you guys. It was very much the young people. So really grateful, and I can testify to that.
Yeah,
But,
no,
you know,
sorry, I was going to say, no, that's one thing for the club, which I will say, obviously, you did say about the clubs in focus. That was one of the key things I will say, that with our clubs, like, now, even in terms of like how we do things with our fees, I know we would have actually opened people's eyes more because we increased our fees this season. But anyone that knows us knows that the club itself was created to allow football to be now good coaching to come at a cheaper price more than anything, because anyone that goes to private sessions knows it's very, very expensive. Like, honestly, it's very, very expensive. And sometimes if it's not expensive, sometimes I'll say sometimes you have to question, why is there someone that just starting, so just want to get a quick bit of cash, just alongside a job? But it generally is expensive. And when we actually set up the club, one of the first things we done was, can we just try and make it where it would be more affordable for people to get elite coaching? And that's one of the things that we want to do, especially over time. And obviously, the bigger we actually get, that means the more kids we can actually try and get into the Proverbs banner, and they can get good coaching potentially for cheaper for that monthly cost, which is a massive, massive thing for us, because I always say, like, my mum would not have been able to afford the private sessions that the boys go to now. So I would not have had that. Now, I obviously grew up playing in the park, like many people like my age. But then, like, if there was really good coaching around, ideally I would want it to be affordable. And I understand that where we've got the club and we've got the private, they're different. But the club's focus is, can we do it so they get as much as possible for as little as we can actually do it without killing the quality and actually hurting our families at the same time, because obviously a lot of time and work goes into what we're trying to do for all the kids under our care.
Nathan, you know what? Everything you said, it just resonates a lot to what I do, my little thing, and that people laugh at me sometimes, and I've been told, what am I doing? So when I'm at tournaments, I don't charge a single extra fee in terms of if for example a tournament costs £60, it's literally charged and distributed across 10 players. So if it's 10 players, everyone pays £6. I pay £6, you pay £6. And I think, for me, it's about, a lot of coaches say we're here to provide opportunities for boys, and I want the best for the boys. And as you said, they say a lot, but their actions talk differently, making a quick buck. And I think football today is no longer the common man's game. It's getting so expensive, and hearing what you just said, that are making it affordable. And obviously, no one can dispute or be upset with you charging your fees, especially if you're providing a quality service. You clearly are, and we hear Des talk about week in, week out, every single day. in the group chat how great you are, how great Proverbs are, what we're doing over there, why we're not Proverbs. So it is great to actually hear it from the man himself. And I agree that football needs to be given to those everywhere, not just at one, not the elitists, not the rich, not the ones that are just fortunate to have the opportunity, but guys that maybe want to just play football for fun, want to play football. Yeah, they don't want to be pros. Not everyone wants to be a pro footballer, but they like to play football. And if you're able to have the opportunity to access to great coaching that may make fun football more fun for you, like having to kick about at goals, playing Wembley with your friends. Why is that such a thing frowned upon? And I think, again, I just commend and put my hat to you, sir, and say, you know what, I appreciate what you're doing. What I do, not from first-hand experience, but hearing about it, and it just sounds like it's a great project, and I'll be watching from afar, or possibly maybe near, how things go. Yeah, Des, that's just for you, Des.
I like those kind of hidden little gems in there. Yeah, read between the lines, people. No, do you know what? Thank you, Dan, for even saying that. And for me, I would say this openly, and I'll say it in front of Nathan right now. I'm no mug. I've made it a thing for me to understand my son's age group, and I know, I've made, like most parents, I think I know some stuff, but I've been around the block. And genuinely, when I talk about Nathan, it's because of experience and what I feel. I'm not one of those parents who just hand over all manner of power over to a coach and held them on high. I'm not about that life, sorry. But you have to earn it. And the respect I have for Nathan knows. And so because of that, and also because personally, for those who don't know and for those that are listening, make sure you smash a like. I'm not just all about my son, to be honest with you. Nathan can testify. If I see other people's kids that I believe is talented, then that's why I say, if you've got a talented child, you should bring your child to Proverbs to take them to the next level. And some parents understand that, some people don't. And that kind of leads me to my question. And the two questions I have, Nathan, I almost, if I could theme this segment as a reel, it would be called the madness segment. Yeah, and I think you know where I'm going with these. The first question is, Nathan, you had a remarkable year last season in your first season in the Echo. I'm sure there were plenty of things that had you on high. I'm sure there were plenty of things that had you on low. And I'm going to ask you how you found that whole season, because I feel like people want to know, what was the je ne sais quoi? But before I ask that question, the first madness question I have is, league or coach? And those who listen to this podcast long enough would know that there's several debates. There are parents watching this podcast who are grappling with how high the league is that their child is playing in over coaching or whatever. And I just want to get your thoughts on that. So let me just call out a few things so people can hear from you.
So for me, straight away, I'm going coaching first. Plain reason being is, in the landscape where we are, where there's less self-discovery, because once again I say they don't play Wembley, they don't play 60 seconds, so everything is controlled. If you're going to spend most of your time in the environment, it's going to be an environment that's going to shape you more. When the boys are playing in a league, and this is not the academy games program is different because they play for a lot longer. The boys at under 9s and 10s are playing 50 minutes. If you're lucky, if you're blessed, or if you're in a grassroots team where they think you're the best player and they don't want to take you off, you get 50 minutes. That's not 50 minutes of you in possession of the ball. That's the ball still going off. The mad thing is that even at some of these age groups, some of the coaches will get their kids to time waste. So I've seen it where players are taking over 20, 30 seconds to do goal kicks. If you're then playing maximum 50 minutes, but let's say majority, because you might be sub as well, you might play 35 minutes. Do you think that 35-minute in a week is going to make as much of an influence as potentially 2 hours of coaching, 3 hours of coaching. It doesn't make sense. And the mad thing is, most of the parents that we've had at one stage say to us, do you know what? We want to be more confident in games. The reason being is the coaching sometimes not right for them to be confident in the game, or they haven't got the right habits. The game is the test. The game is where you show your habits. Training is where habits are formed. So when I see parents, and it's going to be it'll be at times, I will say it's more of a bias thing for us, because we've had boys we've got boys in different leagues, but parents are like wanting to compete against the best. You're playing for 35 minutes, and how do you know that kid is the best person to be playing against? Because yes, some of the boys might be playing in the highest leagues, just like the academy system. It doesn't mean that that boy is one of the best. They might be playing in the best team, but if you've got 2 or 3 very, very strong players, sometimes you don't have to be that strong to be in that team as well. So then if you're playing against them on a Sunday, do you know what? We're playing the highest league. For me, it makes less of a difference. The coaching is where it is. The coaching is massive. And that's because of how everything's formulated right now in the development game. So I see it, and honestly, it blows my mind. I said to you, it's one thing, I came from playing Newham League. I went up every single year. My mum couldn't tell you the name of any of the clubs I played for. It was all down to me deciding, now I want to play at a level. But guess what? I was always good enough that someone wanted to pick me to put me there. So it was never I went for trials. It was, okay, well, no. Now, once again, most of my development, and that was when we didn't have great coaches. That was 3 footballs for the whole team you might be doing. You might be standing in lines, or we might just be playing games by ourselves. That's where the football development was going from that sense. So in that regards, you might want to test yourself in that league, because you need to see the format stuff, the formulation, the habits you're formulating by yourself. But I see it now, and it baffles me, because especially if we want your kid to grow, you have to be able to explain this. It's funny, we had it in church today. One of the pastors he's got a slower tempo to where he actually delivers the word. And the person I was speaking to was like, they like it when he preaches because he does it slow. So you can learn, you can listen, you can intake. Some of the boys, when they're playing in Argentina, Brazil, are just surviving. And that's an issue, because they will not learn enough. And especially if their coaching is not necessarily great, or even if their coaching is good, but that's not their standard, all they're dealing with most of the time is failure on the time when they're showing their habits. It's not good. Like for me, coaching goes over it. And if the coaching is right, the habits get formed, then you can do it. And even then, the whole thing of I'll be able to compete with the best boys, from a parent standpoint, my thing is, honestly, is your boy 100% ready for it? If he's not, let the boy play your standard, because not every single bit of development is going to be coming through harsh environments as well. Not every single thing. So you need to sometimes even play in environments, and this is one thing that lots of the boys lack. They don't play in environments where they can actually be the best. Some of them might do it in school football, but sometimes it's actually good to actually play in a time and just feel like you're the best for your confidence, for you to then be able to grow. If you never feel like you're the best, and you never feel like you can be the best, but you're playing in the best league, that's not getting your confidence fully. And parents don't understand that. And it's mind-boggling. And it's just something you don't learn. Like, you can't be a leader. The best way sometimes for people to learn to be leadership is being older, isn't it? Or being better. Let me just chuck you in an environment straight away. because this is their aim, because they don't care about training. If they struck him in an environment and just see, Joe, yeah, he's not confident. Okay, why not? He's not performing. Okay, why not? Get the coaching right. Just get the coaching right. Take them to the environment where they're going to learn. And don't be boggled down by the leagues. Like, in the end of it, it's especially when they're 9, 10, 11. The only reason why people want to be in the top leagues because they think that's where all the scouts are. But then ask yourself, is your kid even ready to go into that professional club environment? If he's not, then him even playing in that league could be relevant right now in terms of that top league. In fact, not even, it could be more damaging. Let the kid learn. Let the kid take the next steps properly and then go in. Don't get bogged down by the Argentina, Brazil. That's more for your pride as a parent.
I wanted to add to that, Nath, because, I think, again, that probably fits into my next question, and then we want to hear about Proverbs and last season and your reflections on that season. But I see parents I see parents and coaches talk about development, but really, development really means winning. Let's be real. Obviously, I'm looking at everybody. I'm looking at Dan as well. We know we've seen people, they chat the development thing, but you're not developing if your team ain't winning. Development over results, your thoughts, sir, and then we'll get into Proverbs last.
So, would you say so? It cut out for a second there. Sorry.
Development over results. We hear about they want their kids to develop, but development means you also got to win. You know what I'm saying? So, your thoughts on development over results?
I'll give my points after. Parents are greedy. They want their boys to develop. They want their boys to win. They want their boy to be the best. They want their boy to compete against someone that's better. Greedy. Parents don't know what they want. I'm going to say it. I've said it because it's a madness. The development thing, as soon as your team gets smacked, development goes out the window. Oh. But it's about development. But yet, if you win every single game in the season and your kid hasn't kicked on, most parents are happy. Plain and simple. It's near always about the winning with parents. It's that feeling that you get. It's the feeling that people get from winning or knowing that your kid's involved in the winning team. Now, anyone that knows me knows I care about winning so much. But when it comes down to the kids and my coaching, that's when things change. So when we played football today, I won 2 games, lost 1. The one I lost was the last one. I was burning. I didn't sit with everyone else. I'm burning. People understand I love winning so much. But now when it comes down to the coaching, you're looking for the development because ultimately we're a small aspect in the kid's journey. Whether it's the journey with your club or if it's in just a journey of life. So that win, you can say sometimes that win might do something for that kid in terms of confidence. But if you can instill or help them be better and get onto a better pathway, that's much more rewarding. Like our thing is, and I spoke to Deji about it with the club. In fact, I spoke to our parents. I said after we won the Echo Festival, obviously everyone clapped. It's really good. We're I think one of our first team in Brazil to win the top one. And I know Deji will testify to this. I said to all the parents, I wasn't happy completely with that season. I think we just done okay. Now the boys lost 1 game in that season, and that was their last group game once they already qualified. And there was times when I know parents might have thought I was crazy because I might have actually got into the kids once they actually, even after they won. And it's because I said it wasn't good enough in terms of what you're trying to do. Because my focus is, I love winning. My focus is not the win. It's how do you develop. The development is everything because ultimately we're not a pro club. We got pro in the name of Proverbs, but we're not a professional club. So we can't offer out professional contracts at the end of the season. So ultimately we're a stepping stone. So the stepping stone has to be development. So we need to have the boys kind of understand what they're trying to understand, small things, whether it's just that they have to work hard all the time. Not necessarily perform, but work hard all the time. that sets them up. So that's where the development is can we set them up to have a better future, whether it's in football or something else? In terms of us as coaches, every single kid, and I know parents, I don't necessarily speak to all the parents all the time, right? Because I'm either on the phone or I'm coaching, but we'll have conversations all the time, myself and Alex. And I have to say, we've got special women to actually allow us to do it. We'll be speaking about how the boys are playing, how they're developing. Are they going through an up? If they've been going through a down, what do we need to make them better? Forget about the scoreline. Is this person stagnating? Okay, why? What's happening? What can we do? Is it something that's in our hands? Is it something that's in actually the parents' hands? Is it there's something that's going on outside that we know or we don't know about? And we have those conversations more than we can't even say just once a week. We have them consistently. And that's what we are. We're very much, okay, well, how can all the boys develop? And one thing we understand for development is everyone's got their own ceiling. Some boys' ceilings are going to be far, far beyond others. Can we try and get you to your ceiling? To some of the boys, honestly, if they make team in pro football, that's going to be a great thing. That might be their ceiling. So it's just, can we just help them with that?
For real. No, thank you. Look, we've done 90 minutes just like that, mate. I just literally sent a message to the panel, and they probably looked at me like, "What the hell, did?" But I feel like we could go on for hours and hours and hours, but we don't have hours and hours and hours. So I'm throwing it, looking at OC, Dan. What should we just have one more question each, and that will probably take us to the 2-hour mark? Sorry, Nathan, it was supposed to be an hour, but I knew.
I don't mind. Listen, that's my fault, man. Because I will talk.
No, it's
I
good.
love it. So yeah.
It's insightful. So OC,
No, I've been out of coaching the team for about two weeks or so, and conversations it's just got me wanting to get back in and just help boys, man. That's the heart of it. Well, I've only coached boys, but you know what I'm trying to say. Question is linked. It's a bit of a selfish question, but I think it'd be good to understand. So just sorry, I think we said one question each. It is two. I'll throw it into one. Sorry.
Yeah.
First one is just your thoughts on multisports. Because my boy, he's not doing loads. I'm just trying to reset his program now. He does a bit of swimming, and I'm like, should I reduce one of his days and put him back into judo? Because he was doing the judo before the whole pre-academy under-8 season got going. And what's your thoughts on multisports at a younger age? Do you think that's helping or hindering in terms of football development? And the second one, maybe Desi had the question, but just in terms of Proverbs, obviously you're at year 2 now. In terms of the actual club, what does year 5, or what does that vision look like? You know, I think the scripture, I might butcher it, but I'm sure it's like write the vision and make it plain. So what do you aspire to achieve like year 5 and onwards?
So the multisports, I think personally that players, that young kids should do, because I think you learn so much. It keeps it fresh. Obviously, people spoke about how it avoids overuse injuries. My massive thing is that when you go to coaching sessions, most of the time, you'll get the same type of things that all of us will generally try to do. There's other learning outside of it. So one of the things I looked at was like a sport like judo. And I'm pretty sure I've spoken to you about, and I've spoken to a few parents. I like judo because judo allows players to be more balanced, to understand their center of gravity a lot more. It allows them to understand and learn to fixate or how to read someone's body and their balance as well, if you want to try and put them on the ground. So you get that from judo. Something like tennis, in terms of even trying to get, and this is obviously higher standards, lateral movement, even understanding how to spin a ball, like how to hit a ball, regardless if it's your hand, but how a ball can spin in terms of whether it's going to be a slice, top spin, however you're going to return it also. And if you're going further in for something like tennis, even just how to move someone one space to then take advantage of another space. Just being able to read the flight of an aerial ball as well. There's so much you get from the different sports. For me, I got massive amount in terms of basketball, and I actually try and sometimes even tell players to actually even, you watch basketball and how it's less so now how obviously people shoot threes, but how people used to play into the post, similar how you could play into a number 9 and then work off them in terms of like a low block, how you can play outside and then in. Just in terms of the movement of NFL players, wide receivers, similar to wingers, how to lose your man. Multi-sports teaches you so much in terms of just your movement. It can help you just in terms of understanding and breaking down different aspects of whether it's the flight or something, of how someone else reacts, how to manipulate someone in a physical way. I think it's massive. And one thing it does allow you to do is it allows you to keep football fresh as well, which is a massive, massive thing. Because if all of the boys go into the journey that the parents hope, especially if they're starting at 6, let's face it, if we want the best for them, that's going to be a 30-year journey. Not 30 years of playing pro, but a 30-year journey. You need some sort of freshness in that, especially when you get to a certain age within pro and it's an actual job. Because it's not always going to be fun in that sense. So keep it fresh now. So when it comes into the real years when they need to be locked in and loaded, they're like that. And it's not just, yeah, I've been doing this the whole time. And it's one of the things that I've got from some boys. The reason why they play football is because that's what they do. It's not because that's what they want. That's all they know. I just know football. There's not a burning desire. It's just like when we was in school and you finished school, you went sixth form, and then the next step was they just told you to university. But you didn't question, did you actually even want to go to university? It's the same thing with some of the boys of football. I'm just going to take the next step. So multi-sports, 100%. 100% agree. And then with Proverbs, the actual plan, the plan is I want Proverbs long term to not be a club that's just got teams in Argentina and Brazil. But we understand where we have to start to allow Proverbs to be a bigger club, because ultimately, if I want football to be more accessible, and I'm saying that financially, I need to be accessible to more. So ideally, we want more teams so more kids can generally get good coaching. It's not just a kid that is, or parent that wants their kid to be a pro, as Dan was saying. So ultimately, like if we could have, I would want enough teams, and this is going to be past the 5 years, I want enough teams that we could run our own league. Like when I was in America, and the company I worked for, Seacoast, had so many teams at each age group. We could run a league if we wanted to. That's how many teams I would want. Just a straight up Proverbs league, because we've got that many kids underneath the umbrella, and we have the right things for each of them. So yeah.
Wow, I'm signed up, bro. Thank you.
I say, why stop at kids? Let's have an adults league as well. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'll see you not play, man. Don't worry about that, man.
Just a quick one. It's a mad one because of multi-sport. So I know he's either 7 or 8. I was chatting to his dad the other day, and his dad's like, boy, he does 3 1-to-1 sessions a week. And on top of the group sessions. And I'm like, that's too much. That's too much. But even if you swap one of them out for karate, judo, swimming, whatever it may be, like you said, it keeps it fresh, and they're going to be developing further with more of a holistic approach and everything football, everyday football, no rest days, everything football. So,
I think you can only have that much is if a kid's homeschooled, and then you can tailor how those one-to-ones are. But then that means that if they're homeschooled, they can get the other aspects as well of other sports, because as a whole, it's a whole different type of diet. But if you're at school and you're at school till 3 o'clock, 3:30 till 3:30, and you're doing one-to-ones in a group session, that you're not being able to do the other things. For me, it's personally too much. But for that kid, depending on how that kid's mind is, listen, you never know. But it's not something I would necessarily advise. And it depends what the one-to-ones. So if the one-to-ones with other coaches, like I've spoken to you, I think a one-to-one doesn't have to be with coaches. You've seen, I actually tell people at times, I'm not going to do one-to-ones with the kids. I don't want them to do one-to-ones. Now, you might take them somewhere else, but if I don't believe a kid should have a one-to-one right then, best believe I'm not going to take your money. I'm going to say no. For me, do something else. And I said it to, I know I hammered some parents with this. I said the mad thing is, if you can finish work or you can find the money to do a one-to-one, that means you've got enough time to play with your kids. You go play with your kid in the park, do some things there, create that love in a different way, test yourself out during your year, make your touch better, or if you want him to develop, throw a football at him, see how he controls it, let him say, look, Dad, look, this is how I can do it. But you're going to bring him to me for, especially at certain ages, when you don't necessarily need a certain amount of expertise. So do multi-sports. If you're going to do one-to-ones, or you think, okay, they need one-to-ones, really think about it first. See if there's another route you can take. Save your money for the times when you need it even more as a parent. Don't blow all your money now, because you're not going to, what are you going to get? You're going to be very good at under 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s. Come on, man. Save the money, just work with your kid. You can do some things, and then listen, when you might need to actually get a physio because they've got growing pains, or you might need to get a different type of athletic coach, or you need someone to actually sit down and watch footage and break down things down with your kid. At least then you've actually got enough and you haven't burnt through all your resources. You can actually invest into your kid or save it there, and then, boy, like if your kid actually got an idea of a business, do that when you're older, but don't burn through resources in the chase of it when you don't need to right now. Don't be ill-advised with that.
So for me, what advice or guidance would you give to those parents that maybe are looking over the next 18-month period? What's the best advice you can give them in terms of the understanding and patience of where their son or daughter is going to be, or what they need to bear in mind in that not the short term but long term goals?
I think the first I'll do is actually try and get in contact with someone that you actually trust that can actually help you. Honestly, that's one thing I would actually say. Don't be fooled with the advice that some people give because they believe it's a one shoe fits all. Because that's not the case. Every single kid is different. So you have to sit down with someone that can actually speak to you about your kid, what your kid does, and even just what your kid likes. Because ultimately, that's the thing you have to understand. Like, we see it all the time. Like, I would often, one thing I'll say is ask kids this. It's two questions I used to ask kids whenever they was in the garden. It's, if I could pay you, if you were to get paid £2,000 a week, or say I give you £100,000 a year to be a footballer, or I give you £500,000 to be a gamer, which one would you decide? It's one of the first things I'd ask kids. Because there's certain kids that straight will say, I want to be a footballer. They wouldn't care about the money. And the next thing I'll then ask is, I'll ask a kid, what is your perfect day? And we'll break that down into, when you first wake up in the morning, what would you do? What would you eat? Who would you spend your time with? If everyone would do all the things you want to, and you get to understand how many of them will start doing, actually, Joe, I would want to actually choose football. I'd want to go and do this with football. I'm going to do this. You see how they're motivated. When you actually kind of have that understanding with the kid, and then you can find someone that you can trust that can be honest, then now you can actually kind of like build it in together and actually formulate even more of a plan of what you're going to do with your kid. But if you won't know your kid, if your kid's not honest as well, and you're not being honest with yourself, even if you find a good person to talk to, then it's going to break down anyway. So I'm generally saying, learn about the kid, learn about your kid more, about what they really, really want, work out what you want. then speak to someone that you can actually now try and find out the best routes or that understands your kid or can try and understand your kid and actually help him. That's what I would say.
Nathan, I think brilliant. I feel like all the questions have been asked, so I don't want to ask any questions for the sake of it. So I might just pause there, but make sure everyone just smash a like. I guess for me, if I was to ask a question, I would have just said, just briefly, what are your ambitions for your teams this season? What are you hoping to see from them? If you don't mind just sharing whatever you can share. And then I guess what is customary is that we ask everyone who does Clubs in Focus, if you can just share what your schedule in terms of days, how people can find you, that sort of stuff, because there'll be people listening now who are on the gram, they're wanting to know details. So where can they find more details about Proverbs and the up and coming activities that you have?
So for the aims of the season, for parents, our aim is to win their relative festival cups. So I was saying out there just because I know that's what all the parents are going to want. For me, if we win the festival cup, so whichever age groups and whichever divisions we're in, I'll be happy with that for them. The main thing for this season, myself, Al, Matty, Steph, we need all the boys to develop. And that's going to be, technically, we need them to make sure they're better. We want them to be better as well in terms of their thought process of the game and ideally with how they move. And it can't be that they improve just through natural aging, because that will happen during the season anyway. As they get older, they should be getting better, even if it's by a small percentage. So we need to make them better in terms of those aspects, and every single person will have their individual one of what we're trying. That's going to be the aim for the season. It's that. And yeah, like I'll be honest with you, because we've got some teams up due to the boys, they're all placed, even though it doesn't matter as much with training, just so then they can, especially they can be in a division that is better for them if they can get promoted as well. But that's just more so they can actually feel better and they have a little bit more competition. But yeah, the main thing is they have to improve. I can't stress it. That's one thing that will get me a lot if I don't feel they've improved, because I'll take that more personally more than anything.
Nathan, I trust you. I trust you, and I think it's gonna we look forward to the season ahead. And what a great job! It's been a great listen. We've done 1 hour 50. Nathan, plug Proverbs.
So, last one thing, Proverbs. You get in contact with us. You might get a delay because I would say, we're focused on trying to make your kids better. Therefore, sometimes we have less time to reply to you, or we'll be on the phone with you, which means your friend possibly won't get a reply from us. But yes, you can follow us on Instagram. We work every single day of the week in terms of the Proverbs as an overall. We have Easter off, Christmas Day off, and that's the only ones that we actually pencil in. Other than that, you even see me sometimes working on Christmas Eve and Boxing Day. So yeah, that's us.
That is some serious dedication. Nathan, it's been a pleasure. OC, and a pleasure. What an awesome podcast. And also to say thank you, OC, for the reminder. We have hit 100 subscribers. I remember the day where we were looking at each other. Will we ever have one subscriber? That's a poor joke. But here we are at 100. The road to 500, here we come. The road to 1,000 subscribers, here we come. Nathan, again, great, just insight and just to hear your thinking, how you see. And because people keep asking me on a personal, Dad, you seem so calm. Dan, this is why I'm calm. See, this is why I'm calm. This is it. Yeah, you've got a little dose of it. So Nathan has probably backed up what I've been telling you all along. So if you don't know, get to know. That's right, get to know. Find Proverbs, and there is no doubt. The one thing I can definitely say is your child will develop. That is living proof of that, and the tremendous first season that we had and the tremendous second season. But on that note, thanks again. We will see you next time. Good night, good afternoon, and good day. We are out.